Welcome to the Year 11 Parents Revision Presentation for GCSE English Language and GCSE English Literature. My name is Mrs Hazel. I'm the Director of English at Shenley End School, and I'm here to help you to understand the examinations that your child will be taking next summer and how you can best support them at home and how we can support them at school. For GCSE English Language, students sit 2 examinations. The first, Explorations in Creative Reading and Writing, and the second, Writer's Viewpoints and Perspectives. Both examinations are 1 hour and 45 minutes long, both are worth 80 marks, both have Section A and Section B. The brilliant thing about these examinations is that we already know what the questions are going to be, as the questions are the same each year. This means that by the time students come to sit the exams, they're well practiced and well versed in what they need to do for each question. The only unknown is the text that they have to answer the questions on. All of our GCSE English students are provided with a copy of this colour-coded grid at the beginning of their GCSE course. As you can see, this grid demonstrates where the assessment objectives are being assessed on each of the English language papers. It also shows how each question follows the same pattern year on year. For example, we know that for English Language Paper 1, Question 2, and English Language Paper 2, Question 3, students will always be asked to analyse the way in which writers have used language for a particular effect. This means that students can go into those exams confident that they know what to expect. English Language Paper 1, the first exam that students will sit for English Language, is called Explorations in Creative Reading and Writing. Students will be provided with an unseen fictional text and asked to complete Sections A and Section B. In Section A, there are 4 questions which ask students to consider how writers have used narrative and descriptive techniques to capture the interest of the reader and to achieve particular effects. In Section B, students will be required to demonstrate their own expertise in creative writing, using language to manipulate the audience's response. Each section is worth 40 marks, adding up to a total of 80. And this exam makes up 50% of the English language qualification. In both English language papers, students are required to apply their knowledge of linguistic and structural techniques. They're required to use specialist terminology to identify methods that the writer has used. On the slide, you can see a selection of the kind of vocabulary that students need to know and learn and use in their exams. On this slide, you can see a sample mark scheme for questions that ask students to analyse language and structure. The GCSE English language mark scheme is divided into 4 levels. At the bottom level, students are offering simple comments on the effects of language and identifying simple techniques. At the top end, students are offering a thorough analysis, identifying a range of techniques used by the writer, embedding key quotations, and analysing the effects of writers' choices of language and structure in a perceptive and sophisticated way. On the right-hand side of each of these tables, you can see some examples of what that looks like. Here is another resource to help students to understand what each question is asking them to do in the GCSE English Language Paper 1 exam. It also includes some sentence starters to help students to target the assessment objectives that they're being tested on for each question. For question 5, descriptive or narrative writing, there's a list of top tips of things that students need to do to achieve the highest marks available for this question. Like English Language Paper 1, Paper 2 is broken down into Section A and Section B. The main difference between the 2 papers is that students are given 2 unseen texts to read rather than just 1. These 2 texts will be linked thematically. For example, they might be 2 texts about travel. However, they'll be from different genres and from different time periods. The text could be from the 19th, 20th or 21st century. This paper is called Writer's Viewpoints and Perspectives. And in this case, the students are being assessed on their ability to understand a writer's viewpoint and how that writer has expressed that viewpoint. Again, there will be 4 questions in Section A, asking students to analyse the writer's methods and the impact on the reader. In Section B, students will be given the opportunity to demonstrate their own skills and expertise in writing to express their own viewpoints and perspectives. For example, they may be asked to write a letter, an essay, a speech, or a newspaper article. The resource on this slide gives an overview of the questions that will be asked on the English Language Paper 2. The first 4 questions belong to Section A, the reading section, and the 5th question belongs to Section B, a writing task. While the writing task in Paper 1 is a creative narrative writing task, the writing task in Question 5 on Paper 2 is a discursive writing task, where students are expected to express their point of view in a structured and effective way. For this question, we teach the art of rhetoric, and we teach students to use a 5-part structure called INFAC, I-N-F-A-C. Introduce, narrate, offer facts, offer some argument, and offer a powerful conclusion. This resource includes a list of useful techniques to create effective discursive writing. This year, the examinations for GCSE English Literature are going to look a little bit different. AQA, the exam board we use for GCSE English, have just released an outline of what these exams will look like next summer, and this has been approved by Ofqual. For English Literature Paper 1, students will now have the option to choose 2 of 3 questions on the set text that they have studied. Paper 2 remains compulsory. For our students, this means that in Paper 2 they will answer 1 question on a Shakespeare text, and they will also answer some questions on some unseen poetry. For Paper 1, they will have a choice of answering questions on 2 of 3 texts: the anthology of poetry, the 19th century novel, or their modern drama text or prose text. For English Literature Paper 1, students have studied a poetry anthology, either the poetry of power and conflict or the poetry of love and relationships. They will have studied a 19th century novel, either Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde, or A Christmas Carol. And they will have studied a modern text, either An Inspector Calls or Lord of the Flies. Students will only have to answer 2 questions on 2 of these texts. They will have 50 minutes to answer each question. Students will be guided in their choice of text in discussion with yourselves and with their class teachers. We need to make a decision about which option they're taking, and the exam board will be informed of these options in February 2021. In December and January, students will complete mock exams in all of these subject areas to allow us to make the most informed choice in discussion with our students. And revision sessions in the spring term will be tailored towards those choices. All questions in English Literature Paper 2 are entirely compulsory. Our students will answer 1 question on their Shakespeare text, Romeo and Juliet. In Section B, students will answer 1 question on 1 unseen poem, and in Section B Part 2, they will answer 1 question comparing 2 unseen poems. In total, this exam is 1 hour and 45 minutes long. One way in which we prepare our students to enter the GCSE English Language and Literature exams is through the use of Pearl paragraphs. The Pearl paragraph structure is a scaffold that enables students to respond to the questions in a developed and extended way while addressing all of the assessment objectives. Pearl stands for point, evidence, analysis, reader response, and link. Students are encouraged to make a point about the text, to support that point with evidence, quotations from the text, to analyse those quotations in detail and with thoroughness, using subject terminology to identify the methods used by the writer, to examine the effects of those methods on the reader, and then to link back to the writer's ideas, perspectives, or the context of the text. On this slide, you can see an example of a Pearl paragraph in action. This Pearl paragraph explores the way that Shakespeare has portrayed Lord Capulet. It makes the point that Shakespeare has portrayed Lord Capulet as a very aggressive character. It includes some evidence to support that point. For example, he says, "Hang thee, young baggage, disobedient wretch." The paragraph is then developed with some analytical language. By describing Juliet as baggage, he's objectifying her as a weight or a burden to carry. And by describing her as a wretch, he is suggesting that she is a despicable person. Short quotations from the text are integrated into this analysis. This is followed by some comments on how the audience or reader might respond to this text. Though this violent treatment might shock a modern audience, Shakespeare's audience would have been outraged by Juliet's disobedience and empathised with Lord Capulet's fury. And then finally, the Pearl paragraph is linked back to the point. Shakespeare suggests that Lord Capulet would rather have Juliet die than defy his wishes, linking back to his aggressive actions towards Juliet. Point, evidence, analysis, reader response, and link. There are many ways in which students can revise for English language and English literature. This year, we'll be making great use of Microsoft Teams. On Microsoft Teams, students will be able to access PowerPoints from lessons and revision sessions, sample papers, other resources, and video guides. We will also be running exam success sessions both within school and on Teams. These sessions will be targeted at particular students who have particular revision needs. Where possible, we will also make these exam success sessions available to a wider audience. In terms of revision texts, we recommend the CGP publications. CGP offer a range of revision guides, workbooks, and text guides. All students have had the opportunity to purchase CGP revision guides through the school at a reduced cost. For English literature, there is no better revision than rereading the set texts again and again. We always recommend that students have their own copies of their set texts so they can fill them with their annotations and their notes prior to the exams. We would not discourage students from watching film versions of their set texts, but we would suggest some caution. Make sure that students are watching the faithful film versions, not film versions that distract from the narrative or offer alternative storylines. Students can produce mind maps on character, setting, theme, and context, for example. They can produce key quotation flashcards or post-it notes and have them around the house. They can create key terminology flashcards to test themselves and each other. For English language, the best kind of revision is practice. English language is a skills-based exam, and the best way to perfect your skills is to practice them. All students will be provided with a CGP practice exam paper pack. We will use this in class, in practice exams, and we will allow students to take these packs home to use to continue their revision. There are also many high-quality online resources to support students' revision at home. One that we highly recommend is Seneca Learning. Seneca has a wide range of exam board-specific resources designed to support students in learning and revising the topics for both English language and English literature. Another useful resource online is BBC Bitesize. There, students can access bespoke courses on their set text and on the English language qualification. The IBC GCSE English Revision website is a resource created by English teachers specifically for the AQA qualification. It includes a number of tailor-made resources designed to support students preparing for AQA GCSE English. On YouTube, students can also access the videos of Mr. Bruff, an English teacher who's made high-quality tutorials and revision resources for all of the English language and English literature questions for AQA, a highly recommended resource. I hope you found this information useful in understanding how to support your child's preparations for GCSE English. If you do have any more questions about GCSE English, please contact your child's English teacher in the first instance. Or you can contact Mr. Seddon, who is our Key Stage 4 lead teacher, or you can contact me directly. My name is Mrs. Hazel, I'm Director of English. Thank you for listening.